Welcome to our live watch party of two mini documentaries that were created right here in the Elliott School of Communication. The filmmakers, Caitlin Slemp and Julian Liby, are both alums of the Elliott School now, but both of these films were created as a part of their graduate school curriculum throughout this past year. Now, tomorrow we will have a live talkback session with each of those filmmakers, and it will start at 11 a.m. The links for that show are in the description box of this one, so please be sure to check that out. We will be taking questions during the talkback session tomorrow, but if you think of something that you'd like to ask today while you're watching, just submit a comment now and we will curate them and then ask them during the session tomorrow. Now, our first documentary is called And She Did, and it was created by Caitlin Slemp. Caitlin makes films under her company, Free People Productions. She focuses on exceptional storytelling about authentic and audacious individuals, with narrative building always being at the center of her work. While she's not working on film projects, she likes to spend time with her husband, going on long bike rides or snorkeling and scuba diving in Grand Cayman. Caitlin loves to work hard and adventure harder. Her documentary, And She Did, is an official selection of the No Coast Film Festival and was also accepted into the Tallgrass Film Festival. Without further ado, please enjoy And She Did by Caitlin Slemp. I am hearing that we are not getting sound from our comments, so sorry about that, everyone. Just one moment. Let me figure that out, and we will be right back. Just take a short intermission, grab your popcorn, whatever you need to do. Okay, team, we are back up and running and about ready to play the film. Thank you for your patience. You will all be so happy to know that the reason the sound was not there was 100% my fault. And yes, I'm the instructor for the class that is live streaming all of these shows. So just to make it clear, it was not one of the Elliott School students that messed this one up. It was actually me, the instructor. But I think I've got it fixed. So do me a quick favor, and as soon as the film starts, let me know if you're hearing audio. Now, the first 30 seconds actually doesn't have any audio, so be prepared for that. But once you start seeing people talking, just shoot me a comment just to make sure everything's good. Okay? Thank you so much. Here we go.
In 2018, the findings of the Chung Report astonished the citizens of Wichita. Compared to other Midwestern cities who had experienced unprecedented rates of economic growth, Wichita had not seen real economic growth in over 10 years.
When the Chung Report first came out, I was not surprised by the result of the report. And the reason why I wasn't surprised is because one of the things they talked about was that African American women or minority women were leaving the city. And I knew that. I had just seen the progression of women of color leaving the city because they wanted better opportunities for jobs. They wanted a different entertainment life. They just wanted different things that they weren't getting in the city.
A lot of us balked at the fact that there were, 4,000 fewer college-educated women under 45 in Wichita than should be.
We need for things to not be, well, we've done it this way all the time, and so that's what we're always going to do.
How do we revive a stagnant economy?
Wichita is going to grow.
We are trying to break that mold of the traditional roles that we have been told for so long that we have to abide by.
How do we attract and retain talent?
I always tell people, if you're at the table and everyone looks just like you're not doing a justice for yourself and you're not doing a justice for this city. You have to bring in diverse people. You have to have diverse talent and individuals when you're having these conversations about what Wichita needs to do and where Wichita needs to go.
Who will pioneer the change that Wichita so desperately needs?
My name's Alicia Ybarra, and I'm the owner of Vanya Designs, a custom dress shop here in Wichita, Kansas. I've always loved sewing and loved making beautiful things. That's just in me. After my second son was born, I went back to work. I worked my way up from a retail position to a product development position in a corporate company. What I found was that I hated it.
My name is Leela Meadow-Connor. I am the Executive Director of the Film Festival Alliance and the mother founder of the Mama Film series, currently taking place at a pop-up microcinema at Revolution. After high school, I graduated and took a year off and went to LA and never came back. And I met my friend Tim there. Tim was from Wichita, and he and I became fast friends, and he worked for a couple film festivals out in LA and then was like, I'm going to move back to Wichita. Wichita really needs a film festival. And he said, do you want to come? And I said, sure. That was how Tallgrass Film Festival was born.
I'm Cindy Claycomb, and I am the City Council member for District 6. So out of college, I worked for Boeing for a couple of years. I worked in the accounting department there, and then I went to work for Pizza Hut when Pizza Hut's headquarters were in Wichita. And so I worked for Pizza Hut for about 10 years. During that time, I got my MBA, and then I went to Oklahoma State University to get my PhD in marketing. And then after that, I came back and applied for a job at Wichita State, and they did a national search for a marketing professor, and I got that position and then was at Wichita State for just almost 25 years.
I am an entrepreneur by nature, and I couldn't stand sitting behind a desk. So after experiencing it and hating it, I realized that was not what I wanted to do. I started sewing for people. Within 3 years, I had completely replaced my corporate salary with what I was sewing out of my basement. An opportunity became available for me to lease out a 900 square foot studio space, and I opened up my first shop, and I was terrified. And then I've moved into a beautiful studio space on Commerce Street here in Wichita. People have walked into my studio and they've said, oh, I feel like I'm in Milan, or I feel like I'm in New York City. I don't feel like I'm in Wichita anymore. Through the course of meeting with people and designing for them and working through their fit challenges, I've found a personal mission in just helping clients understand how beautiful they are and how valued they are.
I founded Mama Film in the summer of 2018. I thought, what are the things that I know how to do? Run film festivals and be a mom. In January of 2019, I reached out to my friend Mike, the developer of Revolution, the shipping container mall, and said, hey, did you ever think about putting a pop-up movie theater in one of those shipping containers? And he said, I love the idea. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I have this, film series I want to do called Mama Film. And I sent it to him and he said, I love this too. So in 2 months, we pulled together a makeshift pop-up microcinema and ran a 6-month film series.
When President Bardot came, he asked me if I would co-chair the strategic planning process for the university. So I did that. And then he asked me if I would apply for the interim dean position of the business school. And I did. And so I was the business school dean for about 15 months. And then I was the founder of WSU Ventures. And then the last 3 years, I worked for President Bardot as assistant to the president for strategic planning. When I was finishing up that work, some people asked me if I would run for city council. And I said, no, I'm going to retire. But then I began to realize that, okay, if I don't run for city council, who's going to run and represent me? And with some research, just weren't hearing a lot of people. And then the people that I did hear, I didn't think they would be a good representative for me. I decided to run, and so I ran for that office, won that office, and have been in city council now for about 1 year and 8 months.
The question is, how do we move Wichita forward?
I believe that we need to be creating more opportunities for our students to want to stay. I was a table sponsor at the fashion event. It was really unique to be able to see the looks that were on the runway, and she gathered a very diverse group of designers and artists. Through this event that I am putting on as a nonprofit, it's called Fashion Avant, I will be raising money partly to give back to an organization in the city. And then the other part of it is to provide scholarships and funding for students and for small businesses that want to offer those internships but can't offer them paid. I would be able to source a more highly qualified individual if I can be competitive in the market by offering them a paid internship.
When we're talking about selling people in the city of Wichita, you have to give them internships so they can see the reason why they should stay here. So the fact that Alicia is offering that to students is a great thing for our business and our technology, and also for our talent retention, which we know is a big part of Wichita.
Alicia inspires me to think outside of the box and to collaborate. She does a lot of great collaboration, and I really believe that we shine brighter together, and that, it's about collaboration, not competition.
When you look at what's happening in our community, there are women who are supporting each other. They are doing it because they are genuinely happy for each other, and that's what's propelling us.
I have, over the years, learned to listen to people and have a real sense of how might I help this person? And I take real pride in helping people get things accomplished.
Right after we moved in, the bus stop got put back, and not only did the bus stop get put back, but a bus bench was put directly in front of our space. And I'm all for, public transportation and, of course, seating for people that are waiting for public transportation. But what I'm not for is for it being directly in front of a business that can potentially cause safety concerns for especially women exiting and entering late at night. So I voiced this concern to Cindy Claycomb. She made an appointment, came and visited the hive, took it very seriously, and within a couple of weeks had the bench removed. It's one thing, to ask for the opinions, but it's a totally different thing to listen and also take action from those opinions. And I see Cindy do that.
Charlie and I were co-chairs of the Clean Air Wichita campaign, and that's why we don't have smoking in our bars and restaurants here in Wichita.
She's like, okay, so let's talk about clean air. Let's talk about being green. Let's talk about making these things happen so that we are right in line with other cities that are doing these things, so they can make sure that the generation behind them has sustainability as far as in those areas.
Seeing other strong women in government and in leadership positions, that only shows me that I can be there too. Because we have this momentum of women who have stepped up and said, you know what? I'm not going to take this anymore. I can do these roles. I can be represented. And the more of us that take these challenges, the more of us that step up, we're showing other women that they can do the same thing.
I think Mama Film impacts Wichita the most by creating this safe space, this intimate, safe space where people of all walks of life can come together, watch a film together, have conversation about it, and have a real in-person experience. Watching a movie together allows us to have these conversations and have these dialogues with people that we may not know, people that we have totally differing beliefs from, but we're sitting there watching a film right next to them, and then we're able to have a conversation about it and respect one another's opinions. And we live in a time where that doesn't happen.
She's saying, hey, this is something that you might not get somewhere else. This is unique to our city by going to Revolution. This is unique by seeing some of these films that are predominantly about women, by women. So I think it's about perception of attracting different people here.
Those local businesses are really the heart of what we are.
One of my goals as a business owner and our goal as a company is to help make Wichita a place where people want to stay, a place where people want to come visit.
I think, again, with Mama Film, we can show movies and documentaries from all around the world, and we can bring points of view and humanize experiences to allow them to see the world through a different lens.
It's inspiring. We're not going to sit back and just maintain. We're going to take risks, and they're going to pay off for us.
I'm really proud to be an advocate for both women and people of color. And I feel like whether I'm showcasing that through the diversity of films that we're bringing in from all over the world, or just my place and my role in creating this community for film lovers in Wichita, it will help inspire other women and people of color to realize that they can also be represented in this city.
We are badasses. We are doing things. Just give us time. We're going to get there.
I love seeing what's happening in our community. We're saying, you know what? We're going to be bold, and we don't have to do what everybody else has done.
I couldn't have created Mama Film without the relationships that I've been able to forge here in Wichita. It makes it easier to feel like you can take risks because you know you have a village behind you.
Wichita is thriving. Have we gotten to where we need to be? Absolutely not. Do we have work to do? Absolutely so. But will we get there? Yes.
You don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to be great.
What I think ties these women all together is their love for their city. They're not just lookers, they're doers.
I'm not going to give up. And if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove to you that I can.
Take action.
The future of Wichita is inspiring others to do what they want to do. We're ready for change, and we are unafraid to create it ourselves.
Our city is ready for change.
The women of Wichita are fearless pioneers, dedicated innovators, moving our city into the brightest of futures.
Welcome back. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed that excellent film, And She Did, by Caitlin Slemp. The next film that we will be screening today is called Coronaspiracy by Julian Liby. Julian is a Panasonic Lumix enthusiast and is passionate about telling oddball stories through documentaries. He works currently as the digital media strategist here at Wichita State's Office of Admissions. And the documentary that you're about to watch, Coronaspiracy, has screened internationally at 3 different film festivals. Now, quick content warning, please do keep in mind that this film does contain some mature content, specifically some adult language. So keep that in mind and feel free to tune out if you would not like to hear some of that. Thank you again for joining us today, and please enjoy Coronaspiracy by Julian Liby. We'll get started here in just about 30 seconds.
Shoppers and associates, please join us in practicing social distancing. Avoid mass gatherings and maintain a distance of 6 feet, approximately 2 cart lengths, from others when possible. Together, we can help keep each other safe and healthy. As always, thank you for shopping with us today.
To say that the world is a different place because of the coronavirus pandemic would be a massive understatement.
We direct a statewide order for people to stay at home.
Tonight, as so many families wonder where the next paycheck is coming from, how to pay for groceries for weeks.
4,700 American lives and counting.
Today's a somber day in New York City because we're talking about 4,000 people who have passed away. That's more than we lost on 9/11. I mean, just to give you a sense of the sheer tragic scale of this. And it
dominates the news, social media, and our conversations daily. But there's also something a little on the unusual side that's making mainstream waves as the pandemic continues.
A growing number of hoaxes popping up online, from false claims about treatments to fake headlines about celebrities having the virus. Misinformation is spreading fast.
In a new report, Wired magazine calls the coronavirus outbreak a petri dish for conspiracy theories.
Social media is a major driver in the spread of falsehoods. The ease with which conspiracies are shared and reshared makes stopping something going viral online almost as difficult as stopping a biological viral outbreak in the real world.
Conspiracy theories on COVID-19 itself have quickly found an audience online and are being spread at an alarming rate. A variety of claims are being made that the virus was a man-made bioweapon. It's being funded by Bill Gates, it's meant to depopulate the Earth, or that it's being caused by 5G networks. In an increasingly online world where misinformation is easily spread, it's become important, especially in the face of a pandemic like COVID-19, to consider whether conspiracy theories are harmful and whether or not steps should be taken to stop them from spreading.
Y'all, this is not a fucking virus that we're dealing with now. They're using this as a ploy so they can bring in the FEMA camps, so they can shut shit down, and they can start vaccinating y'all motherfuckers. And if y'all take that vaccine, y'all dumb as hell. I'm letting you know now.
The first COVID conspiracy theory I saw was that the virus was man-made and meant for population control. It was a post shared on Facebook by someone I know from high school who was also very vocal politically. So when I had this idea to interview COVID conspiracy theorists, she was the first person who came to mind. So I sent her a message, and I never heard back, which honestly didn't surprise me. And that was okay. It just meant I had to work harder to find a conspiracy theorist who would be willing to talk. A quick post to my friends asking about conspiracy theories got a number of responses, but none of them were new to me, except one that had to do with Zoom making the virus so people would use their program more. Otherwise, it was more of the same: depopulation, 5G networks, and Event 201, which is a Bill Gates-related conspiracy. So naturally, I reached out for further discussion, but again, received no responses. So I did what anyone else would do, and I joined all the coronavirus conspiracy groups I could on Facebook. And that is how I met Luke.
Yo, what's happening?
Hey, Luke, how are you?
Fuck me, man. Your hair is wild, bro, mate. You look like you've got the corona discharge coming out of your fucking hair,
Yeah, well, I mean, this is Luke Rivera, a conspiracy theorist in the UK who really couldn't care less what anyone thinks about him. I talked to him for nearly 40 minutes and only asked 2 or 3 questions the whole time. And this is what he had to say about the coronavirus.
Well, basically, the coronavirus has got a pattern. It comes from a place called Purbright. So people like Bill Gates and these bio facilities and that, and these researchers, and recently Donald Trump got some Chinese guy, somebody who was paid by the Chinese, and done this. It all makes sense, bro.
On the contrary, if you're following along, that probably didn't make any sense. What Luke is referring to is the theory that Bill Gates funded the development of the coronavirus through funding provided to an English company called the Purbright Institute, which specializes in studying infectious diseases affecting farm animals. And this is where COVID-related conspiracy theories become really interesting because there are so many variations of them, it's almost impossible to keep track of them all. For instance, while some claim that 5G networks are the direct cause of COVID infections, Luke doesn't quite agree with that.
No, I don't think that 5G mass caused this fucking bioengineered patented virus that was designed in the lab. No, that's a separate thing, bro. Because this radiation will affect you. It will drop your immune system. It's a lot more powerful than what they're saying, bro. And I barely see anybody going out in the street with any decent kit testing this shit. They're picking up some fucking high signal off the crap kit.
There it is, 240, 250, 270.
Over 5 on the upper number is extremely harmful. So there's the cell tower right there. And look at this jumping up. No problems whatsoever, right? When we were on the road, it jumped up to 70 actually.
Disregarding the fact that at the beginning of the video, she said anything greater than 5 on the top number is dangerous, and that the top number on the meter never changed from 0 throughout the duration of the video, it's people conducting their own research onto the topic, who might not be doing it reliably, that's providing conspiracy theorists with an oppositional platform to argue from when faced with research done by professionals, like this man, who works with the technology regularly.
I ain't do no magic, ain't no hocus pocus. I didn't swap these out. I ain't do none of that. These the same 2 RF monitors I had from the beginning. What we reading here? Y'all tell me. Nothing, right? You see where I'm standing? I'm on the tower right now. I'm right by the antenna. You see where I'm at? This brand new technology right here. You see my RF, right? What's it reading? Nothing. Because the RF frequencies don't fuck with you unless you're directly in front of the antenna. Now check me out. Now we picking up something. And now what's that? Now we reading RF frequencies because I'm directly in front of the antenna. So unless you Goku or Superman flying in front of these antennas all goddamn day long, or unless you got a goddamn 5G antenna installed in your room pointing directly at you, you are safe. So please, look, these are just facts. I'm just giving you facts.
And despite these conflicting results, and while we might be more inclined to believe the professional who conducts his readings directly in front of the tower, Luke's position on the topic can still be somewhat understandable.
These 5G systems are not tested really at this strength, this amount, static positions for a long time, close vicinity to people. You know, no one knows about it. There's no warning. There's no hazard at all. Apparently, it's just a little upgrade, isn't it?
His main concern is that there hasn't been enough testing to prove that 5G is completely safe, which can be a valid concern with the introduction of any new technology. But I was still curious as to why he put his trust in random people online who were doing readings on cell phone towers using EMF readers they purchased for $50 from Amazon, and not the professionals who install them or study the technology. Really, this made me more interested in the people perpetuating the theories online than the actual conspiracy theories themselves. And something I learned from spending time online with these theorists is that when asked for sources, they became defensive and more often than not told people to do their own research and left it at that.
About evidence, you don't need evidence. 9/11's your evidence.
Listen, my friend, he's in the military, man. He just called me. He said, bro, at 11:30 p.m. tonight, man, you need to stay inside the house.
Go educate yourselves. Go and learn, because I didn't learn in nursing school. We'll have our say now.
Vaccinations do not cure you, people. Look this shit up.
I spoke to a weapons expert, bro. I spoke to biologists in the NHS. The same way I rang you straight away and give you evidence, mate. I'm ringing every home pub because I want to fucking know.
So I decided to do my own research on the topic, and I spoke to professionals who study conspiracy theories for a living to learn more about what makes those who believe in them tick.
My name is Julian Liby, and I'm an associate professor in psychology in Amsterdam. And
Well, I study conspiracy theories from a psychological perspective.
What are some of the landmark things that you've found in terms of belief in conspiracy theories?
Right. So I think one of the big paradoxes that I found is that conspiracy theories are driven much more by emotion than by reason. Now, I think there's a paradox in there, because if you look at many conspiracy theories, think of the 9/11 truth ones or some of the more current ones with coronavirus, they're pretty elaborate, right? Truth of the matter is, if you look at the data, it's really an emotional thing. It's driven by anxiety in distressing circumstances. We can know pretty certain that these things are going to go flourish and are going to go viral on social media. And it's really a way of coping with fear.
And there it is, nice and ready to boost your immunity, because don't forget, you've not got any.
When you see conspiracy theories, what conspiracy theorists are doing are people drawing on their intuitions to make inferences about the world. And the way our intuitions work is that they tap into our feelings. So if we're feeling anxious and scared, they look for sort of quick solutions to kind of alleviate that feeling of anxiety. So if I'm, feeling afraid, I look for things that will rationalize or justify those fear feelings.
In 2002, outbreaks the SARS virus for a whole year. And then in 2009, 3G gets integrated into 4G or gets upgraded to 4G, and boom, swine flu.
We all obviously want to feel certain. We don't want to feel anxious or threatened. And in an environment that can instill these kind of these feelings, a conspiracy can at least temporarily try and address them by you suddenly feel more empowered when you feel that you have the knowledge of what is happening. But unfortunately, research shows that that is only temporal, because conspiracy theories in the long run can increase feelings of powerlessness, can actually increase mistrust. But if you start believing that the government conspired in, for example, COVID-19, you're then very likely to believe they've conspired in other events, which can then lead you then to form a belief about the world that is really potentially detrimental to you and others. It's often suggested that conspiracy theories are appealing, but they're not satisfying.
We listened to the media. It was a test. It was a test just to see how many people were plugged in to the mainstream to go out and clear off the shelves of toilet paper. This is a mind control experiment. This is a war of our spirit and our mind, and we have to wake up.
You ask my honest opinion, I believe the economy collapsed before this virus hit the fan anyways, and they're just trying to use this shit as a fucking cover-up to say that this is the reason why the economy crashed. It's because they're trying to switch over to a one-world financial system in the whole entire world.
We assume that, anything that kind of moves has a human-like intentionality. And in conspiracy theories, this often means that we think about, for example, large institutions as having a singular intentionality. So you'll see in a lot of conspiracy theories, the State Department or the CIA or the World Bank, as if it's talking about those organizations as if they're a single person and have a single intent.
I'm telling you, the government got everybody under mind control from what they putting on their propaganda TV that is owned by Viacom.
Are there any characteristics that people exhibit that can predict whether or not they might be more likely to believe in a conspiracy theory?
It's a very mixed field with regards to the makeup of a conspiracy theorist. What we do find is that people who are often disadvantaged are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. It could be that they've already experienced discrimination previously, so they believe others are out to get them.
What we find actually is that if groups face these real problems, then they get the feeling that society is rigged against them. And if society is rigged against them, then it's a small step to also assume that there's a lot of other ways in which society is going to be rigged and full of conspiracies.
The people that are woken up aren't the people that have had a good life, that have been looked after. The people that have been fucked over day after day. They sit back and talk to people and get a good imagination of what's going on. People don't realise that we're poor. We don't want to we don't care if we'll die of a pandemic, but they want us to go home and do this, behave like this, and that's okay, mate. They're fucking lost, aren't they? Fucking mental. Fuck your Terminator-style technology and your Android bots and your AI and your eugenics and your fucking Bill Gates and your vaccine.
The conspiracy theory around Bill Gates and his interest in the COVID-19 pandemic is a clear example of how millions of people discuss the social polarization, economic polarization in the society. It is the distrust to the elites. It's just the hopeless people who have no way to help their life, to support them, their relatives, and themselves, etc.
With this information in mind, I asked what role the internet and social media has played in the perpetuation of conspiracy theories, and whether or not there was a danger in spreading them through those channels.
So in the time of traditional media, it was pretty easy for, let's say, political elites or intellectual elites to develop a conspiracy theory, publish it, print it, spread it around the people. So throughout the 19th and the 2000s, we see the top-down approach. But now, within the last 10 years, this is changing. So in that sense, the internet gave the chance to spread kind of the various conspiracy theories. So they were basically generated by unknown people or less known conspiracy theories.
Historical sources have suggested that, when Pearl Harbor happened in the Second World War, there were also tons of conspiracy theories, but that took like 2 months before they started spreading, because that depended on other communication means, like word of mouth, really. And but nowadays, everyone can throw anything on the internet, and it goes just so fast.
With the internet, it means that people have the power to connect. But research seems to demonstrate that people still stay in their echo chambers. So they may have the wide reach of the internet, but they stay in their small communities talking about these beliefs. The problem arises, however, is when the algorithms that say on Facebook pick up the fringe beliefs. So they're looking for trends in essence, aren't they? And they picked up on this trend and brought this conspiracy into the mainstream. Where in the UK, the government was asked a question about it. So it shows how mainstream that conspiracy became. So potentially the internet played a hand in that by the discussions were occurring and the algorithm picked it up. That may not have actually happened without the internet.
There's definitely dangers involved. I mean, what people believe drives their behavior. And to give you an example, I trust science. So I think smoking causes cancer, so I don't smoke. Well, if you think COVID-19 is actually a harmless flu and a media hoax, then people won't follow the safety regulations anymore.
Vaccinations is not good for you people. Look this shit up.
Think about that logically. Your kids wouldn't be getting it if those vaccines worked. No, vaccines make you sick. They either kill you there and then, or they kill you slowly.
This is bollocks. The health secretary is going to massively benefit from the vaccines that get distributed to the people in this country.
So not only can it lead to people disengaging, it may also inspire violence. I think it's worth noting, however, that this doesn't mean that everyone will act in the same way. Broadly, people who believe in conspiracy theories, it is linked with hostility, for example. But I'm sure that there are personality variables that mean someone's more susceptible to endorse that.
I want war, I want bombings, I want shelters. I want to feel like the films. I agree with Gatesy. We need a population thing, but let's do it the old way how we used to do it, bro. In the trenches and that. Let's get in the fucking beaches and have a good massacre. Let's be brave and fucking patriotic, not this shit.
In the Netherlands and in the UK, there's activists who have been burning down a lot of these network masts in the past few weeks, and with big consequences, because it's not, 5G isn't operative yet, but a lot of other networks depend on these masts, so people can't call anymore if a thing like that happens, and that can, cost lives in a health crisis.
Look at the 5G coronavirus conspiracy theory and look at the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. So both have very serious, very real consequences. That is very real.
It's kind of a fine line between what conspiracy theories can do. Yes, I think they can maybe animate us a little bit, but I think probably more often than not, what they're doing is fomenting too much mistrust in institutions and a misguided notion about how actually politics works. Politics is very complicated, It's very rare that any single group of people can marshal enough power to do the kinds of things that they're typically described in most conspiracy theories.
While it's clear that there is a real potential for conspiracy theories to have negative impacts on us, whether personally or as a society, the academics I spoke to can also see things from the other side, helping them reach this conclusion.
I mean, we also need to be realistic. Corruption does occur, right? Officials do commit integrity violations and try to cover it up. Sometimes there can be a legitimate suspicion of corruption, leading people to legitimately try and investigate that and see what's going on. And, and in that sense, I can also see where this conspiracy thinking is coming from, really. People change into sort of homemade detectives. But the methodology, I think, used between an actual police detective uncovering an actual conspiracy or an actual corruption case versus a blogger in their own home relying on shady websites, that's really different.
Where in any kind of free speech or free thinking do I have to be a certified doctor or have a medical license or be a scientist in order to discuss things that I research myself as a critical thinker, and then I give that information to other people?
With that critical thinking point, it's interesting that we've shown the evidence in the literature that those who are lower in critical thinking abilities are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. So it may be that they believe they are being critical and they are being a critical thinker. However, they are falling prey to confirmation bias, where they believe in information that just supports their beliefs and not questioning it when it feels good.
The current spread of conspiracy theories is the result of the lack of trust. And if citizens of a certain country do not trust the institutions, do not trust the government, do not trust the medical system, there will be lots of chances for various conspiracy theories to spread in this society and add and kind of provide an alternative view on these institutions. So in that respect, the dialogue is important. It is mandatory and it is necessary.
The people who are really visible in this sense on the internet, they are sort of the smaller, hardcore group of conspiracy theories. Around it, there's a much bigger group of shades of grey, so to speak, of citizens who are in doubt, who might be persuaded one way and who might be persuaded the other way. And those people actually are a lot more open to arguments and evidence and reason and everything.
So it's that balance of ensuring people have the space to discuss their beliefs, but do so as a way to acknowledge what they are, have it fact-checked, and then move forward. What that actually looks like, I'm not exactly sure, but I do think it is important to have those spaces. At the moment, we don't know how to deal with conspiracy theories. So I can understand why it's been taken down now. But in the long term, conspiracy theories arise for every single event. We can't just take them down all the time. It needs to have that dialogue. So maybe it's back to that point of, if we can think about the individual and ensure the individual has the skill sets to ask the right questions and then also evaluate the evidence, if the algorithm picks up a conspiracy theory in the future, people are already empowered to understand what a conspiracy theory looks like, and that they can then fact check themselves rather than just endorsing it and then sharing it.
What started as a project to interview conspiracy theorists became an opportunity for us to learn more about the character traits that drive people to believe in conspiracy theories, the potential dangers of perpetuating them online, and what steps could be taken to reduce those potential issues. As it was mentioned, conspiracy theories have been around for much longer than the internet, but with social media giants like Facebook and YouTube taking steps to minimize the spread of misinformation, conspiracy theorists are finding that their content is being removed from the platforms, feeding into their assumptions that larger forces want them silenced and censored. While it's difficult to tackle the issue of how to effectively reduce the spread of conspiracy theories and misinformation, it's an important conversation that needs to be had, and the current strain of COVID-related conspiracy theories makes now a great time to have that discussion.
Thank you all again for joining us for this live film screening of And She Did by Caitlin Slemp and Coronaspiracy by Julian Liby. Just one more reminder, we will have a talkback session with the filmmakers themselves tomorrow at 11 a.m. if you would like to join us for that. And the links for that session are in the description of the session that you are currently watching. Thank you again, and we'll see you tomorrow.